We are on day 10, I believe, of our, I'll just move this back a touch so you guys can see the bed, hopefully. We're on day 10 of our stretches for Christmas. So I think yesterday, if anyone has had a look at it, was a 40 minute video on just a general way to stretch, just a general all over body. Today I'm looking at upper body, so literally rib and above, so chest and above. We do get a lot of people, especially coming up to this time of year where it's crazy season. We're all, Christmas is next week. We're all busy trying to get everything done that we need to get done. We're all busy trying to finish up work. We've got kids coming out of school. Everyone's getting a little bit stressed and a little bit running around like idiots to get everything done on time. So we tend to see in the studio a lot of people who are struggling with neck pain, headaches, just general crunching from being stressed as well. So that's what we're going to cover today, is upper body, basically arms, neck and back of the head. So I'm going to start with the back of the head, to be honest. If you have, if I turn the slide on for you guys, I'll just switch my mic side over so I'm not talking away from the mic. If I turn side on here, so you can see, if I'm sat and my head is in line and my head is back and pulled in line as it should be, you'll notice that my back is quite upright, small curving my spine. I'm in that lazy S shape of the back. If I'm stressed and if I'm working or I'm computer based or I'm rushing, what we generally tend to do is curl and hunch. And as we curl forward, the chin gets poked forward, which means that our pecs get tight. It also means that our shoulder blades technically come up, but in the upper back and in the upper neck, in that position my joints are quite spaced. As I poke forward, those joints get compressed. So when we're talking about headaches, and we're talking about what we call occipital headaches, we're talking about the upper cervical spine. So your cervical spine starts basically at the base of the skull. We have the atlas and the axis, which sits the skull on top, and then we've got vertebra C1 to C7, which is our upper neck. So they're called our cervical spine. With these vertebrae, the top three are what we call the upper cervical spine, and they articulate a little bit differently and move a little bit differently in how they move to the rest of the vertebra. So with these, when we compress and when we pinch them, so typically when we're in this posture, or if we're lying in bed and we're reading books and doing all the things that we do nowadays that we really shouldn't for our posture, what will tend to happen is these might get shortened, they might get compressed, and if that compresses the joints and that compresses the muscles on top, we get potentially headaches. So that can come over the top of the head. You might feel a headache that's at the base of the skull. We might get headaches that come here, or they come here, or they come around. And those are what we call the myotones. So it's the pattern of pain that will indicate which vertebra might be affected or which joint might be affected. We also have different areas of pain. I might actually, don't know if it'll work, but I'll have a go. I might show you in a map on my phone, which is called muscle trigger points. And this is very good in terms of how you move with the body. So I'll have it, I don't know if you guys can see that muscle trigger point up here. If I turn him around and look at the back of the skull here, I don't know if you can see him very well. No. I press on one of those muscles at the back of the head, it gives you the pattern of pain. So the X marks the trigger point spot, the blue marks the pattern of pain. If I come back out of there and do the trapezius muscle here, again, the blue X marks the trigger point spots and the blue splodges mark where you might get pain. And similarly, throughout, you might have different areas of pain as that moves. You then have some of the deeper muscles in the neck here, which might give you pain out to the shoulders. So this is a very sort of basic app, and it basically shows you the different parts of the body. You can turn him around and you get the other parts of the body, but very, very good as just a quick reference point. There's your temporalis muscle. It can give you pain into, so again, we're looking at the blue splodges as to where those give you pain. And there's pecs, can give you pain down the arm, Okay, so if you are looking at getting a muscle trigger point app, that one is called Muscle Trigger Point, and it's very good at just giving you an idea with the occipital muscles. If they get tight, where are you likely to feel pain, and then you kind of know what area you need to release it. So with that in mind, I'm going to use a small roller, and always check with your physio or whoever's your attending person. Let me turn the light on. I seem to have got into the habit of actually coming in and not turning the light on when I'm doing recordings. You are lying down and you just want your head underneath the roller. Now, if I have my head and my neck on top of the roller as it sits, my nose is pointed to the ceiling and my neck's in the normal position. What I want to do is stretch the upper area of my neck. So I want to move the roller slightly backwards so it causes me to have a double chin, and I've got the pressure on the base of my skull. And what that is now doing is stretching those muscles. And that's literally going to be it. I'm just going to sit and wait. With the head in the center position, I can stay there for a minute or so, and then release and relax. If you don't have a roller, you can just roll up a towel quite firmly and get the similar effect just from a rolled up towel. So again, I just hold it under my neck, and then I'm moving the roller slightly away so it makes me tip my nose down towards my belly as opposed to my nose to the ceiling. So I just want it a little bit further away, and I want that pressure then coming down. As I lie there, I feel that the neck on the upper side is elongated, and I'm just allowing those muscles to start to relax. Okay. If I want to change it, so I'm doing some of the side muscles of the neck, then all I'm going to do is gently turn my head, and that way I'm starting to get different muscles like the levator scap muscle, and I'm moving into that side position. And again, with my chin slightly tucked in, I just feel that's elongating me on that side. Turn to the other way, and I get that elongation on the other side. Okay. In that center position, not so much a big deal. In that rotated position, you want to make sure you're not getting any dizziness. So if you do find you're doing some rotation and it sends you a little bit dizzy, stop. There's quite a few delicate little blood vessels in that area, and definitely don't stay in that rotated position for more than 30 seconds. Okay? You might find when you're in that rotated position, it might sort of refer to the back of the head, and it might refer into your jaw, depending on where you are tight along that line. Okay? So that's a nice way to look at starting to stretch your occipital muscles and starting to stretch some of the tissues around the neck. Okay. For the upper body itself, if you are using the roller, shouldn't have popped it down. You can use the roller for your upper back. Similar thing again. You just want a roller or a rolled up towel. It's going to be about bra strap level for girls, and about just the end of your shoulder blades, the borders. Okay? In that position here, we want the body just nicely curled, and using that position, we're just going to gently arch over the top of the roller. Okay. What we don't want to see, if you look at my rib cage here, I want to stay connected here. And I don't want my back to move at all. I just want the movement to come over here. What I don't want to see is that my back arches, so you can see when you're on the top today. But if I'm moving a lot and I'm doing it from that position here, I'm getting a lot of change in my back. I want my back and my rib cage to stay still, and I want to stretch over the top, which then means I'm not going to have a massive range. However, if I'm running my body pop, I'm just hinging around about this level here, which isn't really moving at all. So if I come into that small arch, I can then turn slightly left and then turn slightly right. I can come up the roller a little bit and do it in that position, and I can come down the roller a little bit and do it higher up the neck. So if you can remember what we were talking about before, that in your upper back, so in your rib cage, you've got a lot of mobility through the neck because we've got small vertebrae. In this section to the rib section, you have where your ribs are taking attachment around the vertebra, and this movement and these joints are inherently stiff. The aim of the thorax and the rib cage is to protect all our vital organs. So it's protecting our heart, it's protecting our lungs, it's protecting things like our kidneys and liver and all those sort of really important structures that we don't want to get hurt. And it makes the rib cage quite rigid. So relatively speaking, neck has a lot of movement, rib cage is relatively tighter and relatively stiffer, and it has less movement per vertebra. And then the lower back is basically our big low bearing. Again, we've got a lot more movement in the lower back, but it's basically our big load bearing vertebra. Okay, so we've done a little bit on the upper neck, we've done a little bit on the upper back. Now we're going to learn how to stretch around the shoulders and the head. Okay, so if we start with the arms, basic one is arm in front. To do the back of the shoulder blade and back of the humerus, basically posterior deltoid, we just take the arm across. I would avoid hanging onto the joint, come above the joint or come below the joint and move the arm across. Avoid the shoulder coming into the ear, keep the shoulder nice and still. Girls, you just have to work out whether you want to come above or below to get that stretch. Okay. Same on the other side, we place the arm out in front, the arm's coming across the body, and we just give it a gentle pressure. If you then want to add on some rotation of your body, you can, but make sure you isolate the shoulder, so we get posterior rotator cuff, posterior deltoid, maybe a little bit of triceps depending on how tight you are, and we stretch. Okay, we went through pecs the other week. So with the pecs, you're holding onto the bar, we're turning away. With pecs, if you're seated rather, you might just want to turn the arms out. That might give you, from that seated position, arms coming out, some stretch and open out through the shoulders. Okay. We can also do it hands behind the head, and some rotation to the side. Hands behind the head, some rotation to the side. And we can also add on some side bend and some side bend. Okay. Depending on where the arms are, when you're doing those activities, you might find that your rotation is different compared to where your arms are compared to here as well. Okay, so rotation in the chest. We can also do some work on the neck and the head. So the muscles that side bend the head side to side here. We also want to have the hand behind the back to prevent that from moving. So if we hold it here, if we have the arm out, we're likely to lift the shoulder. Okay, so we'll keep the arm grounded. We're going to take the shoulder across ear to shoulder. And then to get a little bit more of a stretch that comes not just from the traps, but it also comes from your levator scalp. We're going to turn and sniff underneath the arm. Okay. Same on the opposite side. We're going to take it into a side bend of the neck. You can see my neck is quite stiff today. And then from there, we're going to take it into the shoulder or the armpit to get more of your levator scalp. Okay. Now I'm going to turn around so you can see it from behind. If I'm sitting in this position here, and I take my head to the side, here, it's easy for me to cheat and allow my shoulder to come up. If I have my hand behind my back, it helps me stay grounded. And when I'm moving, it's not as easy for me. So the purpose of the hand behind the back or the hand behind here is to keep this shoulder grounded. Here, it's because there's nothing holding it contained. So, in terms of like the upper body and the neck and the shoulders and everything like that, if you are in that curved posture a lot of the time, maybe just a small rolled up towel behind your back will help you be a little bit more upright. That will prevent, these muscles tightening in, will also prevent that forward poke of the head. As soon as we've got a bit of support in our spine, we sit up a whole lot better. So if I turn side on forward here, if I'm sat nice and upright, my body's nice and upright. As soon as I lose that curve in my spine and I curl backwards, my chin pokes forward and my shoulders come forward and I get tight through here. And then I start to get pressure in my lower neck, I start to get pressure in my traps, and I start to get tight through here. Incidentally, if you are one of those who tends to be in that posture, you then might also find that you start to get pain through the jaw. You might also be a jaw clencher at night, and that just feeds into the muscles of the temporomandibular joint, so your jaw muscles, also your scaphoid muscles, which then also lift up the top bit of your rib cage. So you'll tend to find your breathing's a little bit more apical, so a little bit more in the upper chest, and it's a little bit harder for you to relax and get the air down to the lower rib cage. So hopefully that's been a little bit of an insight into definitely something that we see a lot of with people who have headaches, that inherently, especially if it's a, we see a lot of teachers who towards the end of the school year, they're fatiguing, they've done a lot of marking, they've got reports to get done, they're on a deadline, but also people who are, winding down to go on vacation or winding down for Christmas. There's a lot of push to try and get all your work done very quickly, and we all end up sort of running around and feeling that tension in our upper back. So with all of those stretches, same as we were talking at the beginning of our stretching series, if you're looking at those prolonged stretches, so you're looking at stretches that you want to do to get some length and release, you're going to be looking at those being more passive, and you're going to be looking at those being a little bit more ranged to 20-30 seconds. You can do hold relax with these stretches as well. So you could stretch into them and push head against hand, hand hold you still, hold for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then ease a little bit more into it as your contract relax stretches. But I would definitely talk to your attending physio or whoever it is that you see from a therapy point of view if you're looking at increasing how you move. So that is it for day 10. We have 2 days left, which is 11 and 12. If there is anything particular that you would like me to go through over the next couple of days, then do feel free to flick me an email. I was planning on doing maybe a 10 to 20 minute, little bit of an all-over move, one just being a little bit more passive based and one being a little bit more active based. So that was my potential plan for the last couple of days for this stretching series. If you guys have anything that you would like to see particularly, then feel free to send me or flip me an email and let me know. So thank you for joining me on day 10, and we will look forward to seeing you in the next 2 days.